There are no changes to the agenda. Is there a motion for its approval? Second. Hembry with the first and Cummins with the second.
Cummins?
Down to the communications, I'll open this up to anybody who wants to speak with the council. Just come to the podium and state your name and address.
Sleeper, live at 323 West 3rd Street. And I'm going to give you some information about a past employee that I would like to see honored in a different way. Don worked for the city, started in 1958, retired in 1994. During that time, there were 14 people that worked under Don. He worked under 3 city managers and 5 mayors. Don was inspirational in changing over the electrical system to what we have today, which saved the city a lot of money. I was approached by your he wanted to meet Don. So I said, I think we can arrange that. So we did. Got to meet him, and he was impressed by the man as well as anybody else that meets the man. We had an idea that we would like to have a plaque made in honor of Don for one of the power stations that we have here in the city, and make that an honorary thing for Don Rosner. Different people. Don was top notch as far as a manager goes, and he didn't tell you to do a job. He went and helped you do a job. And I can remember one Christmas Eve, we got called out at 6 o'clock in the morning and had a line down to the county home. And the wind was blowing, it was cold, it was miserable. We put the line back up, went back home, sitting in my living room with the fireplace going and getting my bones thawed out. Phone rang at 6 o'clock at night. Same line, same pole, different line. Back up we went, and Don was right there with us all the time. If anyone ever deserved recognition for the time that they spent working in this city and with the other people, it's Don Rosner. Now, determined that I will pay $100 to get this plaque made. Any of you match me?
Great. All right. Anyone else? Seeing there are none, I will close that portion of the meeting and we'll move down to the consent agenda. And these can be enacted with one motion. It's the approval of the council meeting minutes from October 25th, the approval of the council work session from November 1st, the council meeting minutes from November 1st, also the approval of the investment and treasurer's report from October of 21, the approval of a drip reimbursement for Stuart Clark in the amount of $5,012.50, the approval of a trip reimbursement for Randy Amison in the amount of $5,680.87. Pay application number 2 to Midwest Concrete in the amount of $273,157.90. The approval of an interduct purchase from FS3 in the amount of $14,760. What Ross was talking about, the approval of a plaque to name a new substation in honor of Don Rosnow for his 36 years of service to the city of Tipton. Also garbage exemption at 412 East 2nd Street. Another garbage exemption at 216 East 7th. One-time water and sewer exemption at 106 East 5th. The one-time water and sewer exemption at 416 East 4th. Also, a liquor license renewal for Dollar General. And finally, the claims register, which includes claims paid under the current purchase policy. Are there any of these that need to be pulled out separately?
Mayor, could we,
We got McNeil wants 12 and 13, and what did you say, Mr. Hembry?
I was gonna ask that,
Okay, and 9 and 11. McNeil, 12 and 13.
Yeah, Melissa, you.
Was, they did not call for the employee for.
And 9 and 11, Mr. Hembry?
is there a better way to recognize Don? That next person I'll say is Don Dreger to be recognized. Is Steve Nash gonna get recognized? Only reason is we have a lot of facilities or items around the school that recognize individuals for their contributions. If we continue to write off vote, as far as it pertains to items 12 and 13. Item 11, to the flat fee for the wastewater, knowing that that house did burn. Now, I would like to discuss the portion of her stormwater fee, which is only $5. Her roof still stands on that home, still creates stormwater. So that typically stormwater rates are based off of square footage of hard surface and whether or not you or their natural gas to write off our last February.
Rest number 9.
All right.
One of the reasons why here to rough
I'm
Don.
here.
Don,
Don?
yeah.
1958.
1958. He spent a lot of time working here. His knowledge is very good. He's a great historian for the utility. I've seen this done in other utilities to name the substation after a past employee. And this would be the first time Tipton has done something like that. And I feel Don deserves this. Very impressed with him. He's very sharp. He's a good man. He's got if I remember right, it was Harlan, wasn't it? Yep, came from Harlan, Iowa, clear on the west side of the state. And I would really like to see the council approve this. I got another $50 donation from Lynn Bibler, who used to work here back in the 2000s, and then I said that I'd donate $25. We're 70s, so But at any rate, I mean, we've got more than half or close to half of the plaque cost covered. And we already got a spot picked out for it. And I think it'd be a great honor for the city to honor Don for those years of service. It'll be mounted on the fence to the substation. We can't put a brick thing there in front of the substation because the IUB says that could give somebody the access to climb. But at any rate, I talked to them and they said typically we want the plaques.
Plaque's about $300, you say?
It was, I want to say it was $365. Plaque would look like, and yeah, it was right in that ballpark. 65, okay. Yep.
Will you get this put in the building itself?
I talked to other utilities, and almost all of them have put them outside where people. Because we put it inside the building. The biggest reason is safety reasons. I don't want them water.
Would it be of any merit to have it in front of?
Scoop around the substation, you'd be surprised how many times I drove by at night and I see people up at the fence looking at. Alex, I always pull up there and say, can I help you with something? I'm just looking. So.
Just, is there, that agenda? Cummins with the first,
Second.
and Helm with the second?
Henry,
Yes.
Helm,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
So moving down, the first one tonight is a discussion of possible action concerning presentation by David Summers regarding the Cedar County Co-op's request for a waiver for the charge that was added to the natural gas rates. Mr. Summers?
Good evening, David Summers, the general manager over at the Cedar County Co-op. Last February, of course, natural gas prices spiked through the whole. And one of the things that I was just inquiring about through the city here, there is a fee that I understand that because of that February billing, there was some kind of a fee derived where the normal usage maybe and what the actual was taken and spread that out over the next 24 months in a billing cycle for that usage. Am I okay to assume that? Is that
Yes.
And the reason I was here tonight, well, actually three things I wanted to discuss was at the co-op, as you know, our dryers on natural gas. And during that high price of natural gas in that February timeframe, our dryer is not running at all. I mean, that's used November, December timeframe, and therefore we, in my opinion, shouldn't incur any increased fee due surcharge that's being passed on because quite simply, we didn't use any gas during that time. And again, my question to you, are there some exemptions or considerations that were a part of that fee, or is that just across the board fee? He just built a new house and just came online with natural gas in October, I think. So again, he wasn't using the gas that was surcharged from last February. But I thought I would bring that up. And then the other thing I was thinking about was Joe Smith that moved out of Tipton in June, built up for the excess fee so that the new owner coming into that home again, trying to lay something clear out for everybody is difficult. I get that. The reason I'm here though, folks, is to ask for an exemption for the co-op. We have a separate meter, I believe, Adam, on that
Yes.
dryer, so it's easily identified by the usage on that.
That's the upcharge, 50.
Yeah, it's a 15 cent.
Something that we had talked about in the office. The difficulty of it is if you cause this policy change for the co-op, how many variations of it might come forward, like build a house, not during that period, you know. Have you, I mean, you're in the LP business, do you have such a policy where if somebody said they didn't use LP during a time when prices went up, do you speak to them?
Well, my difference, Brian, is I put it in your tank and you pay for it. It's in the tank and then they use it. Yours is coming through the line at time. Only thing I would say, Brian, is that we can clearly identify that that meter is very easily identifiable to us or anything like that. And I get it, you're just trying to help spread that cost over your residential base. I understand what you're trying to do. But sometimes trying to make it easy for the customer makes it difficult for trying to do what you feel is right. Happening with that, so.
Because the city, we didn't.
Your natural gas is obviously different than my propane. You know, in 2019, when propane got really hard to get, you know, I was paying 40, 50 cents a gallon more than I was selling it for. That was just my for-profit business, just making it happen. But anyway, I don't mean to take up your time. I just would like to have that consideration for the co-op. And Questions from anybody?
Take action tonight if you're ready to. If you're not, if you want to think about it.
Any action concerning this? Just the council, you can let it lay there, or somebody can. Somebody else can make another motion, which is table.
I would table. Motion to table.
Cummins with the motion to table. With second.
Henry,
Yes.
Helm,
Yes.
McNeil,
No.
With that, can we ask Ryan and Adam too to phone other communities that might have a situation like this to see what they've done?
Everybody's going across the board throughout the whole United States.
Think about, are there any other variables that, like the new house?
Yeah, that's my concern.
And we can think about it, I'm not sure that pinpoint all of them. I mean, it's a little bit like,
Afraid what kind of worm is gonna open up here when we do this.
it's like the garbage exemption that we thought. There used to be a charge for, it wasn't a pure. So let's waive it completely, and then we've had uncounted number of these exemptions come. It seems like there's one or two at every council meeting. So it's something that we tried to anticipate, but clearly weren't able. That's what I'm concerned about here, how many variations might come up where maybe it isn't going to be a whole lot of money like it is in co-op's case. But how do you do it? How do you do it in a fractional way among maybe a whole bunch of utility bills?
Definitely.
On the utility bill, it sure would be nice, I think, from a residential's perspective, to have your charge on one line and then have that surcharge on the other. I don't, Brian, do you know what per customer that was affected? I mean, are you talking $300 or $400 additional fee for this 2-year span, or what was the average?
I don't think we can answer that.
Yeah.
I think we
Top of
worked,
my head.
yeah, I think we worked that out at one point, but I can't think of it.
Thanks for your time.
No problem. Thank you. All right, next up is discussion and action, discussion of possible action concerning a presentation by Mike Heine and Richard Bouglier regarding the Tipton Motel. Gentlemen.
Thank you. I have with me Richard Butler, who is questions with from the standpoint of purchasing the motel to try to convert it into some apartment usage. I've also got Dave Sweeney from our office up here in Tipton, who has been the person most closely involved with the day-to-day management of the motel over the last 10 years. And Dan Owen and Sheila Butler. To give you a brief little history on this, we've met with a few of you, I believe, and not all of you. Liberty Trust and Savings Bank acquired the motel through basically a borrower who came in 2002 or 2003 and said, "I'm done with it." He threw the keys on the desk of a loan officer who was here at that time and had his pickup and trailer packed and left town. And so we resold the motel. So that was the first time we got it back. We resold the motel, and 3 or 4 years later, we got it back again by default on the contract sale that was made. The bank completely renovated that motel at the time that we got it back. We've spent between $100,000 to $150,000 updating the rooms, the utilities, services, and we put a new roof on it. We did some siding work. And then we've spent over $50,000 on some other repairs that had to take place when the retention pond to the industrial park, the tile that was used to drain that pond tied into some drainage tile that were placed on it that had been underneath of the motel. And in two situations with some heavy rains, we had backed up water going into the motel from the retainage pond. Care of realigning that tile, and then we had a lift station that failed in Tipton and provided some sewer backup on a third occasion. So we've had some pretty significant costs. I mean, if you want to call it a money pit, it's been a money pit, and had it not been for the backing of the bank, it would have probably been back in somebody else's hands and back in our hands again under some other foreclosure or default. We ran the last 10 or 15 years. We've had several different managers in there, and in the early going, we had some success. The business was making some money, but the last 4 or 5 years have not. And there's been some changes in the competition. We've had some other motels that have built in Iowa City and along the interstate travelway, and so occupancy had been running 50 to 60%. In the last 3 or 4 years, occupancy was down to roughly 20%, 30% at best. We just did not have enough use to keep the, basically just to cover the operations of the business. And that's not servicing any debt because we're not paying ourselves any debt service on the motel. It just pure and simply had an operational failure. And COVID was just the nail in the coffin that really put this thing out of its misery. And so we had managers that were there until June. They left, and at that time we made the decision to close the motel. We've been under regulatory pressure to sell the motel for some time. And I would tell you that our examiners and regulating bodies have been very cooperative with us, trying to give us as much time as possible to try to find another buyer for this place. It just hasn't happened. And so we look at other alternative uses for the motel, recognizing that as a going concern, it probably wasn't going to be a motel in the future. From our perspective, one of the main concerns, I guess, was what can you put into that facility that's going to generate enough business to keep it operating and to keep it maintained. We've got it priced, to where it's affordable, but it really doesn't matter. The cost of maintaining that kind of facility takes some revenue, and there aren't too many businesses that you could put in there that would generate enough revenue to keep it looking nice. Dan Owens, a realtor, and brought to us Richard Baudelaire, who expressed an interest in buying the motel and converting it into apartment units. It's zoned, currently it's in a commercial zoning area. And so putting multifamily into that zoning is not allowed by Tipton.
Wow.
On the ground floor would have to be commercial, but the upstairs, as I understand it, the second level could be converted to apartments. And so again, there's office space in Tipton that's vacant now. It would be to take that downstairs and find businesses who would be willing to occupy it, and compete with other places that are already trying to find businesses to put in there. It's a long shot, perhaps. I guess our request here is to ask for a variance for this facility to be converted to multifamily. It's in other communities, I know multifamily is kind of the buffer. Comes close to residential on its northeast corner. You know, from there on is residential. Across the street to the north is also zoned commercial, but it is residential use at this point. And so, I don't know, we've looked at some of Richard's other properties. I think he's got some pictures of some of his other facilities that he owns and manages. And he has been willing to provide an addendum or an amendment to his, accommodate some of the concerns that we have had expressed to us in previous discussions with some of you folks. And so I'm going to just kind of let Richard at this point I give you a little bit of a background on how he expects to handle this facility. So if there are concerns about what it might look like and how the property be maintained and what would be asked and expected of the tenants, I think he's the best person to speak with. So I'm going to let Richard speak at this point.
Well, I'm not near as good as that. I'm a farmer. 3 sons who are all adult age, all have their own. And they're all successful. So I've got pictures of, I don't know if you have been doing this for about 45 years. I had livestock, got in the livestock business because I kept raising hogs and cattle, not making enough money in that, got into the rental business. Big time. I've got about 5 multiplex units. So this, I'm just going to pass this down the line. I guess the best thing to do, and it's kind of hard to see that one, but these are apartments that were in bad shape. We do hard one to see. This one's a lot clearer to see. This one in the city of Walcott, this building was in real bad shape. All new windows, new vinyl, new roof, and then we got an award from the city on this one. This is another one in Walcott at the top here. And the top. One in Tipton here. These are 1-bedroom apartments. You have one room with your kitchen, living rooms, everything in one. The other room is the bedroom. Now, some concern was low income. Well, this is probably going to be around the same price range at $5 to $550. We're paying all the utilities. You move in, you don't. Utilities the way this would have to be because everything. Dennis building, I have people who are very good people. They are young people just starting out. I'm very particular on who I rent to. I'll also say that people who are druggies, I don't rent to people. I'm very particular on who I rent to. I have 2 hands here. It's just worked out really well. This is in the town of Benton. Probably most of you know where it's at. If you go through Benton enough, it's just right on the curve right there, and you come through Benton. Or go through and then this one, I just bought in Durant, and we're just starting on this one. This is right on Main Street. We just got the windows put in. But we just bought this, and so if you, whether you do this or not, watch this one the next year and see what happens to that. So we've done a little bit of preliminary work here. We got Terry Gertz out to the motel, electrician out there. Wanted to see if it was even possible and what they felt and what the city inspector said. Pictures that we plan on doing, and we've got everything approved. They said it would work to turn them into apartments. So that's a wrap. If we get the approval, like I say, I've been told there's need for this type of thing, or I wouldn't even have gone any further with it. People I talk to, people who have like employees, you had mentioned one time that you had employees that might be interested in living. Handicapped people. So I've already met a lot of you already. Some of you haven't met before, but
Your vision of what you.
I do. Do I have them with you, Sheila?
No, we only have the banks.
What?
We only have the main full version.
Okay. What it amounts to is if one room be a bedroom and one room. Bathroom would be gone, but we're utilizing the water supply in the second bathroom. So there would be a bathroom in. Well, it's 2 showers in there, yeah. Exterior, the balcony has peeling paint, we're going to fix that.
How about like just the grounds around it, the parking lot, and I'd have to go look because I don't recall without going and looking at it. I have
All-
bad memory, but like what does the back side look like? What do the sides look like? Like is there grassy area, all that kind of
It's
stuff?
all in good shape. In the very back, the little grass patch behind the part behind it, that's all well maintained.
Um, Other apartment that is on the west end of the building, and it just comes out to a sidewalk and a little bit of a grassy area in front of it. There's 2 utility buildings, an RV shed that for storage, and then there's another little utility bed between the 2. And a fire pit kind of a thing that previous owners had used. The backside is, I mean, the backside is clean.
Like you have to come out the front door, down and
The
around.
apartments.
South side of the building. The, right now has a stairway that goes to the ground floor level. I don't know that what Richard's plans would be for that.
People are going to utilize the back, and if they
People will not be
the
utilizing
back
the back.
side, so it's just going to be a grassy area the whole time.
Yeah, no, it's just like. And there's no, all of them are like that I have. You know, they don't, you can go to the grassy spot if you want to walk out. I've got like that first building. Oddly enough, no one.
If you do have a young family, where are they going to play? Or where are you gonna put grills if somebody?
Charcoal, they put it in the grill, they take the charcoal down, they dump it on your yard, or they dump it next to your building. I don't allow grilling, I don't allow.
Where's the dumpster
cigarette
gonna be
butts.
at?
Or they dump the dumpster hot.
Where's the
burning.
dumpster gonna be at?
Oh, the bird, I don't know.
You don't know where it's gonna be located at?
Is
There's
it
a-
currently a dumpster?
Yeah, right now there's a kind of a dumpster. It's on the, there's a little.
Down below?
It's, there's an area on the east side of the building where the, is it a dumpster?
I drove over there a couple. Just, as far as dumpster have maybe in a fenced in area.
Visible, sure.
Trash hanging all over the place and
I have not thought about the dumpster yet, but, yeah. A dumpster, yeah. There will be a dumpster, I know some, that's the only way to go, people can't have individual garbage cans, there will be a dumpster.
The biggest concern we have is it's the first thing you see when you come in town.
Yeah.
That's,
Well, that's why they were heading this direction, because if you try to put business downstairs and apartments upstairs, it's likely not to be as clean appearance.
can I ask you, the buildings behind? You have a planned use for them?
I do not, we'll probably rent them out, we'll probably do. Allowed to work on vehicles, in the shed. Storage, you're in, you're out. You're not allowed to hang out in your storage shed.
Use like
And that's where.
personal residential storage
Sure,
or
yeah.
commercial storage?
Whatever, the one large building, if somebody did, I don't know whoever wanted to rent, but the rule would be you're in and out. There's no oil, I want no, nothing liquid product. There's storage units, that's what I have going on now. I have other units that came with garages and things like that, and that's what we do. And it seems to work real well. People using the storage units, I haven't had any problem with them leaving anything outside.
Of our, like, committees of the county. Has been suggested is some form of, that's not in your concept for this, is that correct?
It always could be in the future, but at this time, I need to pay for it's going to cost quite a bit to renovate that building. I'm not a big corporation. I'm borrowing the money. I have the means to borrow the money to get whatever I said to do. Get that building. $1,000 in a parking shed, type of thing. And I problem renting without that type.
When everything's done, upper and lower, how many apartments?
There's 7 on each floor. I see a laundry facility, 7 on each floor, so 3 on top, 3 on the bottom. Left over a laundry facility, put a laundromat in there, a couple washers and dryers. Here's one would be a 1-bedroom one. Or I could take, and I haven't really completely figured, or I could make a 2-bedroom up there, living quarters in the middle and the bedroom on each side. So I'm kind of heading toward the 1. I'll also figure out when the electrician comes and he might be telling me what.
what's the lower manager's unit? What are you gonna do with that?
The lower manager, rent it out as a.
That'll be another one.
Those are what I get, hopefully get those rented out right away to help pay for the heat bill. Because unfortunately, if this works, I'm inheriting it in the middle of winter.
Mike, I know one reason you came to the city was also ideas. And I know Brian discussed an idea of possibly offices and also client housing up top. Have you? No, I'm talking to Mike.
Oh, wait.
They got reached out.
Well, through realtors.
Just Brian gave you the phone number to reach out to.
No, I did not. We've had this on the table at this point, and so I think this is where we are. And so, No, and, I mean, I guess I would say that that would be perhaps something that Richard would want to be aware of, for, as a possible use. And I don't even remember exactly what it was, Brian, but they had the possibility of somebody who might want to utilize the lower level, is that right?
I didn't catch the first part. The Crossroads organization we discussed.
Oh, yeah, I spoke to them, and in the time since they left that building, they decided to move their operation almost completely to Muscatine. So if they do anything up here, it's not meant to be permanent.
Okay. So not too much to pursue there then.
No.
Just to review this again, procedure, it's not really a variance. What it would be, special use permit that was created to allow the fourplex on the north end of town. Zoning had the same prohibition to ground floor dwellings. The council allowed the ordinance for that type of zoning to have a special use permit option. Could go to the zoning board of adjustment, present what the plan is, kind of like tonight, what you're doing now. Zoning board of adjustment would have against it. They would then make a decision on whether or not to issue a permit, and then whatever they could make as stipulations as part of the special use. Okay. The thing, the ordinance, if it was changed for this situation, I know that there was a concern, well, will it cause a wildfire of applications in the downtown? This type of ordinance can be just like the one that was done for the fourplex. It can be written very narrowly. Have it applicable only to former motel buildings. I mean, I have to check with the attorney, but I think it could be written pretty tightly that it doesn't open up a wide door. It's up to the council though.
Two motels.
Well, but you can also say south of South Street and east of Highway 38 too. So anyway, tightly as you want, or as tightly as the attorney says he thinks you can. Whether or not it passes the zoning board is another story. We don't know. You could apply there and it might work there or it might fail there. But the main thing is the council willing to change the ordinance to create a special use permit option that allows that application to go to the zoning board? Typically, you would need 3 out of 5 of you to pass an ordinance, 3 readings. If the mayor, in this case or whatever case, vetoes an ordinance, he has the ability to veto an ordinance. Or to override. That's the reality of the situation. That's how it works. That's the essence of what you're looking at.
Ordinance, if we were to pass it, is it for just this circumstance? Or if, let's just pretend like all of a sudden this doesn't happen, or he sells it and it goes to someone else, and anybody is grandfathered into this ordinance then?
I think so, yeah, as long as they abide by the conditions in the special use permit. But again, it can be very narrowly written if that's what the council wants to do. Ordinances are very common, especially in a traditional downtown. This ordinance was made over zoning all up and down the 38 corridor. Keep the downtown from being eroded from retail to residential, because once that conversion happens, you probably never get your downtown. Commercial zoning.
Our perspective as being the neighboring property owner, the bank, to the family was the safest approach, because if it was used for other commercial purposes, it's really wide open to anything. I mean, it's just. Commercial purposes, maybe desirable, maybe undesirable.
What's your guideline as far as when you're trying to have this done?
If anybody decide my house after the derecho. Probably after the holiday, if I get somebody in there, my electrician, everybody's just waiting. Because I can't do electrician, it's all gone down through permit. So as soon as I get an electrician in there, I mean, they can start. I can't say because I just don't know, when the electrician and everybody, I got everybody on board and everybody sees.
Ron, haven't heard from you, or you, McNeil. I don't know if you guys. want to
I'm
make a
afraid I'd
motion?
scare Abby if I said something, but right. So from what I experienced on the other thing from those that live up on, it's where some people say you learn from the mistake.
Possibly the possible action, unless you have anything else to add. I guess we're to the possible action of this presentation.
Proceeding with the ordinance. This would draw up an ordinance for consideration at a future council meeting. Now, with the holiday, I don't know how soon, if that's what you want to do. I don't know how quickly an ordinance could be drawn up. But it isn't something you can say yes to tonight. It has to end up in an ordinance.
And then happen, it still has to be the zoning board. So even I'm a little bit concerned about the backside and the idea renting out those buildings a little bit too.
Roughly, it's about that size, and then there's really not much.
Access to the back, there's not really access for any of the apartment dwellers to be going back
No,
anyway.
It's pretty secluded. Standpoint of being seen from the street, there's just really no line of sight to what's back behind that
Just a-
hotel.
Just like a closed dumpster, maybe something about parking as far as the north end, like you said, that parking facility up there is awesome. And you don't even really,
Now, what are they doing?
they have, well, just a three-sided covered parking, that's all they have. Nice looking place.
Oh, it's a good thing. Okay, you're not, no, I thought somebody was complaining.
No, it's a nice thing. It really is. And the north side apartment is a nice little place. And we have the problem with that. It's right by Walmart there. You gotta wait, because zoning, like you said, so it doesn't open up a can of worms.
That goes through the front, goes around the front of the building there. And then there's just a little bit of a grassy area that's got some arborvitae, I think, planted in it that are.
You know, what we were talking about, after I got and looked at people.
Very pressure to get it sold. It has to be sold for something.
Mhm.
And I mean, and there,
Got no other interest in it.
no. Well, and quite frankly, I mean, was a year, in the last 2 or 3 years. Without service any debt. And the occupancy, and we've had good managers. We've had, there was people who were there, used the place repeatedly, but there's just better amenities out there and places to stay that are, And this hotel is just, the structure of this hotel is just very limited in being able to compete into the market. And if you're over the road and doing traveling, I mean, there's lots of options out there. There's a lot of cornerstones and comfort inns and stuff that have just popped up everywhere, microtels. So it's a different ballgame than what this place used to compete with. And 13 rooms just doesn't lend itself to make a lot of money. So again, our main concern was finding a use for this property that had the revenue to keep it maintained over the long haul. Multifamily seems to be the best solution.
Well, is there a motion one way or the other?
You didn't develop an ordinance that.
Home with the first to develop an ordinance that creates the special use option. Henry with the second.
Yes.
McNeil,
No.
No.
You're good.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Which is a resolution to accept and approve the annual urban renewal report for the fiscal year ending in June 30th. Melissa?
This report is a annual report required by the state. It's a summary of all for the fiscal year 2021. In total, had 151,948 left in TIF revenue.
Any questions for Ms. Armstrong? Seeing there are none, is there a motion to accept this? First, and Hembry with the second? Yep.
McNeil,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Helm,
Discussion possible action concerning the TIF, the tax increment financing indebtedness. Ms. Armstrong?
This report is for fiscal year 22-23. We're certifying the TIF for our rebates and for our different with the county auditor by December 1st.
Questions for Ms. Armstrong? Is there a motion to file this? McNeil with first, Hembry with second?
Helm,
Yes.
McNeil,
Packet, you have this spreadsheet that Melissa did. It's an in-house document. Previous motions and the paperwork going with them. I don't find it useful for anything I do. Sorry, it's a state requirement. This spreadsheet is far more useful to me, and I think to you, than basically tells you what our TIF obligations are. It shows you at least what the estimate is every year. It tells you when the TIF project ends. So I just find it more useful, and we use this format at budget time too. You'll see it when it shows our debt. So I just wanted to point that out.
No problem.
Thank you. All right, the number 5, right? The annual, discussion possible action concerning the 20 to 21 annual financial reports.
This budget, a very high level report, so it's going to be hard to try to pinpoint any current expense or funding, but it is again a requirement by the state.
You don't find this very useful. Shows what the debt was paid during the year and shows you what our constitutional debt limit is. So to me, that, you know, if you're looking at this report and wondering what's useful, that probably is the most useful page to me.
There are no questions for Ms. Armstrong. Is there a motion to approve the filing of this report?
So move.
Hembry with first and McNeil with second.
Henry,
Yes.
Helm,
Yeah.
McNeil,
One is a resolution that would approve a CDBG grant or program contract for the exterior rehab of owner occupied housing. That's a grant administration services agreement and also technical services agreement. Mr. Wagner?
Yeah, we combined these things into one resolution. This is the grant award to rehab the 6 owner occupied homes. It's to be used between now and October 31. At the time we applied, they looked for public. So although the maximum anywhere in the state is 6 homes, I believe we had around 12 pre-applications that were submitted. Likely that the 6 will come from those first 12. You know, I'm not saying it's maybe the y'all and end all, but I think what they try to do is they try to work with that first 12 first, because they went ahead and did everything when it was still just an application. So that's a grant agreement with the state. The other 2 things that follow are with our grant writer, the company Simmering Corey, who wrote the successful grant application. We used them this time instead of ECIA. The state requires a competitive selection process for this type of grant. One of the council committees looked through the applications that were submitted, and this time they just gave more points to this company. Well, now that an award's been made, Simmering Corey has a contract within for grant administration services. They have another one for technical services. They're pretty much boilerplate, what the state requires. The fees that they charge are part of the grant application. So we're not paying in this case. So I believe the council will go ahead and approve these 3 items as part of this resolution.
No questions for Mr. Wagner. Is there a motion to approve these 3 items?
Motion.
McNeil with the first
Second.
and Helm with the second.
Henry,
Yes.
Helm,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Cummins,
All right, number 7, a resolution that accepts the completion of the Mulberry Street Water Main and Street Improvement Project, which would include approving pay application number 5, number 6, which is the release of retainage, and change order number 3 regarding the as-built final quantities. Mr. Wagner?
Right. Yeah, with the addition of the change order 10th, the original bid amount went from 399,000 to to be a good addition to the project. Pay application 5 is $27,062.65. 6 is the retainage amount, $26,054.69. Retainage in this case would be 30 days after the passage of this resolution by the engineer. And then there's also a provision that we try to add to resolutions like this that authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute related documents.
Any questions? Steve's here too, if anybody has any questions for him. Something like that on his bike though. It's a whole lot smoother going down.
And they got rock underneath it?
Is there a motion to approve these then, this resolution? Henry with the first
Second.
and McNeil with the second.
Helm,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Motion that would accept the library exterior stair replacement project of 2021 as complete.
Yeah, on this one, we included an email from Terry Gert. He did the inspection. He did the plan review, and since it's a city project, Harry did the periodic inspection of the project, and one correct a problem that I guess would have been on his recommendation that the project is complete. We brought forward this resolution, plus this one too has the provision about allowing the retainage to be released 30 days after.
There a motion? Henry with the first, Neil with the second.
McNeil,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Helm,
Yes.
They did a great job too. My kids even, the Ruby did, made a remark about it, about how great it was. To number 9, a resolution that would approve change order number 7 and pay application number 16, which would also include the partial release of the retainage for the Sager project from the wastewater treatment plan of 2018.
Yeah, this one. Build adjustment of project quantities and the original project was 7,269,000 roughly, or I don't know if it was exactly that. The final project cost is 6,801,157.11. To those beginning decisions between the council and engineering contractor, where the value added engineering took place. Nine were changed along the way. This one is a little bit different in the retainage part. This one, pay application 16, the retainage was around 340,000. This would release just over or just under 328,000 of that, and retaining this would release 305,000, and it would keep 30 retainage. I at different times I've kind of debated with engineers over what the meaning of substantial completion is. The definition is, are you using it as if it's yours? You know, is there anything that's stopping you from using it completely? And the definition here is we are using it. We're using it completely as if it's ours. We're not living under any limitations that we know, that I know anyway. But there is a punch list, and the law allows you to keep 2 times the value of the punch list as retainage, even if it is substantially complete. So that's what this resolution attempts to do. It keeps 35,000 until the punch list items are completely done. Now, when they are done, this doesn't accept the project as complete. When they are done, we'll come back with another resolution and the engineer's letter of recommendation to accept it. And then the council at a future meeting would officially accept it as complete.
If there's no questions or comments on this,
How big's the punch list, Brian?
It's not too bad at this point. I was real happy recently they come and put the new baffle curtain in. I found 5 out of 18 cables holding aeration headers that were galvanized, not stainless steel. They were 5/16, not 3/8. So we called them out on that, and they come and took care of that. With the distribution of flow to the cells. And in the distribution boxes, that helped. I don't think it's quite right where we want it just yet. So they may have to do a little more follow-up on that. Still got That's about it. And the last 3 or 4 items I mentioned are what remains. Other than that, it's all pretty good. The numbers are coming out really good. The BODs are good, the TSS, the ammonias are running 0.10 now milligrams per liter. So that's good. But I think it made sense to hold back just a little bit of funds for incentive. One last thing, the overhead doors are canister type roll-ups, and they never got the weather. So this fall, before hard freeze, I was getting bugs in the garage. So they need to come back, understand there's parts on order. And so, if you heard that,
What's the time frame that they have to finish this then? Is it like 10 years down the road? 35,000 or?
I mean, 6 months.
They had a timeline. I don't know if they had a
The
timeline.
timeline is if they want.
If they bail, we can use the 35,000 to fix it.
Typically where you'll end up, if the owner ends up fixing it, they'll end up just becoming. And you let management deal with it accordingly.
Hember with first, Helm with second to approve these payments. Next up is the discussion of possible action concerning a contract from ECIA to update the city of Tipton ward maps. Ms. Armstrong?
The Iowa Secretary of State requires everyone to update precinct. Required to do it because last time this was done, 10 years ago, ECIA prepared doing it. They're going to recommend they come back. Or timeframe to do all of that. So we'll with their recommendations and improvements for that.
To make the deadline on the, if it is the 20th, you'll be asked to waive readings and pass all 3 that night in order to make the state's deadline.
Big deal with the first to approve this contract.
Second.
And Hembry with the second.
Hembry,
Yes.
Helm,
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Cummins,
And the last one tonight is discussion and possible action concerning authorizing the city manager to approve the American Rescue Plan Arts Grant from the Iowa Arts Council for a downtown mural project.
Yeah, they set it up for me to sign. But this was one that we came to the council a while back, and the council was favorable toward applying. Well, they in fact did make the award, and so this is for asking for your authorization to go ahead and sign the grant agreement. Along with that, as part of the synopsis, we pasted the current concept. It isn't necessarily the final one, but the current concept for the mural, and then also a view of how it could look if things progress with US Bank and it's attached to their building, which would be a very nice location for that.
There are no questions for Mr. Wagner. Is there a motion for this? Motion. First and Cummins. Cummins with the second.
Henry.
Yes.
McNeil.
Yes.
Cummins.
Wraps up that portion, which now we move down to the reports. I have nothing this week. Council?
When's our Christmas party?
Nothing, because of COVID last year. We can't do it. Go.
It's like the motel situation and the fourplex situation. That's where they have in mind, we could take that type of zoning and tailor it in their written ordinance.
Yeah, she contacted me about that, and I told her, I said, I didn't know anything.
Mr. Wagner? Department heads?
I want to talk to you about a couple of things. I guess it's actually just information more than anything. Industry right now, materials are very hard to get. Right now, one of the manufacturers, I deal with right now, they stopped taking orders. They're 18 months. I did contact a couple of rebuilders. He said that it's going out faster than what they're getting to come in. So material prices in some instances have tripled. And I've been told that if you want stuff, you better order it now. Probably you're going to see a lot more stuff than I thought. I'm going to let you see what's going on. I ordered some fiberglass cabinets, and then they can't guarantee the price because they don't know what the price of the resin is until it comes through the door or through the gate. Fairly decent inventory of pad mount transformers and pull top transformers. They're a year out, and it's just everything. So if you get complaints about it, I'm sorry, but if we get the, and I'm sure we can probably get some help from maybe some of the other utilities in the association. One other thing, I don't know, there's a lot of talk about putting charging stations in, but the investment's about $35,000. Person do it. One of those things, I just don't know if we're going to get the payback. And I did get to drive a Tesla. Yeah. Get a chance to drive one, go do it. It's 35.
Which model?
I drove the sport model. I think it's the Y.
Yeah.
It's the sport model. It's the fastest one. It was the funnest one.
Did you buy it?
No. So that was one of the talks is up charging stations. I don't know if we're interested in doing that. The Iowa Utility Board did have a case come up against where, I don't know if you're all familiar with the IE truck stop. The utility board stepped in and said, you can't do this because you're ability in the state by putting in charging stations. So I don't know. I gotta do some more checking on that, if we want to let somebody else do it or not, or if we want to do it. So. Yeah,
We can do that when we,
what's that?
when tractors are running on electricity,
No.
but then if you become electric dependent,
Right.
Yeah.
On a positive note, they're probably pouring the concrete, the site. That intersection is gonna be great. I've had a lot of truckers already thank us for that. That's such a huge improvement. I don't even know where to start. Sidewalks have been replaced for the most part. One homeowner's sidewalks are pretty good. The other intersection is good. We got new water. This concrete wasn't too cold, and specs and the concrete were made so that for a couple of weeks, but it's going to be all completed, I think, in a couple of days.
I'm just planning on traffic coming off of South Street for that.
The traffic that's going north, south of Lemon and turn and come down 7th to the intersection, that on that intersection. Turn north there. We didn't think we needed to expand the Lemon Street and 9th Street intersection. Right, and they left the cones up longer than they needed to.
or signs for public works and whatnot. You don't put no parking on Plum Street between. Okay,
No.
It always has been anyway.
Oh, yeah.
That is tight, and that was widened about 20 years ago.
Why?
So
So bad, it is.
In the White House.
Where's my stop sign at?
Tenth and North.
Tenth and- yeah.
Take the yield sign. Come over to, back. They didn't put your stop sign.
Oh, it's been there.
Which one's good?
So, all right.
Yes.
McNeil,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
Henry.
Yes.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.